AUT's been around for a long time and has been through a ton of changes, but what about the abilities that haven't received that treatment? There's a handful of movesets that haven't received reworks in a real long time, and I think it's time someone shed some light on them. For reference, this series will focus on abilities that 1. Have been in game for more than 2 years, and 2. Have not received any major reworks in that time. The definition of major rework will range a little, though. I won't count the addition or removal of inconsequential moves, but if you give Casey a beatdown, that's a rework to me, since it changes how you play significantly. These abilities range from underrated powerhouses to underpowered pushovers, and it's my job to tell you which is which, along with a little history lesson. And so, without further ado, today's episode is Sands. Sands is an uncommon moveset that can be obtained by crafting together the Bone item and 3 Sands shards. The Bone can be found as a rare drop from the sand piles in the Devil's Palm. This moveset is based on the infamous Sands battle from Undertale, with the pose music being Megalovania by Toby Fox. Sands has a quick, true M1 combo with standard range and damage. It's surprisingly valuable, as Sands relies heavily on pokes. Q is Switch. This move does nothing other than changing the eye color from blue to yellow and then back again. It can be assumed that this move was initially going to be a moveset toggle, but it seems like plans for that never came to fruition. E is Bone Guard, an armored move that surrounds you with bones. This move block breaks, but can also be parried fairly easily due to the obvious windup. If landed, it can combo into various other moves. R is Gaster Blaster, a blockable projectile. It has 0 stun, so it can't be used to cancel time stops and the like. Because it's angled downward, you can jump before firing to effectively increase the range. This also leaves you susceptible to the enemy going under the elevated beam and whiff punishing, so be careful about using this against people with movement tools. T is Heh, a near-instant combo starting counter. It's just really strong. It's easier to punish than most counters due to the extremely visible wind down period, but it's harder to see coming as well. Y is Bait, and this move is very weird. You throw out a single non-damaging bone that stuns once it stops moving, and then the area the bone landed on is fired at repeatedly by Gaster Blasters. This move is especially strange because it interacts with map geometry, sometimes flying into the air and becoming useless if it hits a surface that isn't flat. Also, sometimes the bone doesn't stun even though the hitbox is green. But hey, it's a great combo extender slash starter, so I can't be that upset. H is End, a combo extending and starting projectile that does far more damage than it needs to. This is the win condition of the moveset. Being able to consistently land or combo into End will make or break a match. V is Teleport, which unsurprisingly is a teleport. They're useful on everything, but they especially strengthen Sands' neutral since he can dive in and out very quickly. B is Bone Launch, which is a YBA stand jump-esque mobility tool that also does a little bit of damage. Due to it being hard to control and costing meter, I don't use it much, but it's still useful in those dive situations I mentioned earlier. It's also how you would be dealing with ultimate moves like Time Stop, since it's a bunch of burst mobility that also provides height. This is great because Gaster Blaster's lack of stun leaves you open to those moves. Bone Guard, Bait, and End are all true into each other, so provided you can land one, you can confirm the others. Just flowchart whichever of them are available for the most damage, and then finish the chain for M1s, maybe following up with a Gaster Blaster for an extra 30 if they don't have a counter and you can consistently land them. The timing of End into Bait is probably the hardest though, so I recommend avoiding that. Yeah, that's literally it. He has like one combo. Sands is very poke reliant, like I said on the M1. You want to bait block breaks with Bone Guard, land counter at every available opportunity, and throw out bait whenever it's off cooldown. It can be parried, but that happens very infrequently because of how inconsistent the move is. You live and die by if you have enough meter for the counter. It can confirm into a 150 damage combo, so being able to consistently counter your enemy's pokes and combo starters is lucrative. If the enemy is caught on and starts to bait the counter, maintain your meter by diving in and out with the teleport and landing M1 chains, slowly chipping down the enemy 45 damage at a time. Then try to confirm End using Bone Guard and Bait. Because of the extremely slow projectile travel speeds and inconsistent hit rates, it usually isn't the best to use End raw, but it can become your last resort if the enemy can parry the other 2 moves. On the topic of End, make sure to use it as a punish against armored moves. If the target is armored when the move hits them, they won't be brought up into the air, meaning you can continue hitting them with M1s or any other moves during the stun. This is probably a bug, so I wouldn't recommend fishing for it, but they haven't fixed it after all this time, so who knows. All I know is that it lets you tack an extra 90 or so damage onto the combo. I do feel bad for putting this in a video, because I've been having a lot of fun with Sands, and people knowing how to deal with him will make that harder, but whatever. It's just blocking. Oh, and parrying. Sands does not have a single grab other than the universal grab on X, meaning a good defensive playstyle will shut him down completely. Hyper-aggression will not work, since Bone Guard and the counter deal with that incredibly well, and he has a surplus of mobility tools. Your success will be entirely dependent on whether or not you maintain your defense and can consistently parry both Bone Guard and Bait. This will force the Sands to go in for M1s, which leaves them open to being punished. Just don't commit too hard to your offense, since Sands can quickly turn a misinput or untrue combo into a comeback with the press of a button. Sans has had an interesting history within AUT, because it's probably the most unchanged ability in the game. Put it side by side with the new universe release moveset, and it's almost exactly the same, barring the passive we'll be talking about shortly. Obviously the M1s were updated to match the rules of the new systems as they came out, but everything else has stayed the same. So how is New Universe Sans different? Well, he had the passive ability to dodge 300 damage worth of attacks. This rendered him immune to stuns, grabs, and any form of damage until he had exhausted the whole stamina bar, at which point he could be killed in one hit. That complete intangibility was later replaced by a damage and grab immunity that still made him take stun, which balanced it out a little. The problem with that version was that grabs still did their appropriate stun, which meant every moveset had more combo extenders against Sans. And that was the state of the moveset, from then until the AUT devs realized that this passive actively made him worse and was not beneficial to him or the game, and they removed it. But that wasn't the only thing that was changing about Sans. On release, he also had access to one additional move, Bad Time. This would black out the screen of both players, showing nothing but a heart icon in place of the target. That heart would then follow the cursor of the Sans and take 50 damage. It was a fairly decent, if not underwhelming move, since the whole thing was blockable even after the screen went dark, but the main problem was how much the move would relocate the target. Most of the time, your vision would come back to reveal that you had been forced into the floor or a wall, so they decided to remove it after just a few months. Other than that, Sans has remained almost entirely unchanged as one of two remaining Undertale abilities, since Xcar and Gaster have been removed. Azrael has been teased and Asgore exists, but none can hold a candle to the first. Sans is, without a doubt, a classic of AUT. As is tradition with my AUT ability videos, I gotta talk about why my upload schedule is terrible. I'll make it quick, because I know a lot of you don't care. I've been reevaluating why I'm making these. I got overwhelmed by those big numbers I started getting in August and September, and I thought I needed to chase that crowd. But what I forgot is that it's my channel. It's my hobby, and it's gonna become a lot more like that now. AUT, An Infuriating Downfall, is a video that I want to make, but the scope was blasted far out of proportion because I felt I had to make this grand spectacle of it. It'll happen eventually, I'm sure, because I have very strong opinions about the state of this game, but I'm not gonna let it loom over me anymore. With that said, I'm gonna head out. See y'all in the next one.